the next 40 minutes of finding out how to work with smart technology to work towards infection prevention in hospitals. And we've got two solutions that we want to share with you guys. I hope you won't mind the German accents coming through once in a while. We're both from northern Germany, and we'll just take you through two projects that are somewhat combined, but also still distinct from each other. My name is Carl. I'm from Daisy Grip, and this is Tobias from GWA Hygiene.
Yeah, as Carl said, so we are from the very northern part of Germany, close to the Baltic Sea. You might maybe know that part as well. And there are some companies who work on that field of infection prevention, and that's the reason why we call it Hygiene Valley. So yeah, we are good connected, and we always want to improve, of course, the infection prevention topic. Is that loud enough actually, or do we need a microphone?
Maybe we should take the microphone just for the
video.
Okay. Then there's going to be a bit swapping back and forth, but that shouldn't interrupt the whole process.
Yeah, right. So we are two companies here, but we're still working together to make hospitals a safe place in terms of infection prevention. So I'm Tobias from GWA Hygiene, and we have developed a system where we can monitor the hand hygiene performance of the healthcare workers. I will go into detail later on, but that's actually our product here on the left side. It's called Nosocomial. And then we have Daisy Group on the other side.
And I don't know if this one's working, but maybe not. What's working? Yes, it is. Wonderful. Yeah, we're Daisy Grip, and we manufacture the first hygienic and reusable tourniquet. Some of you have already seen upstairs. For the rest of you, we'll have the story in more detail in just a few slides. So I'll give this one back.
Yeah, and just to make sure that we are on the same boat, but yeah, you all know, and probably better than we do, that we are facing a global hygiene challenge. So yeah, and it's not just a German topic. It's also, yesterday I've heard that in the UK, every year you have 300,000 hospital-acquired infections, and it costs you £1 billion per year. So there's a lot to do, and we just want to improve and support your daily routine with our solutions.
So, as we heard, nosocomial infections are a huge problem. All of you know, this can happen in many processes, and the one we are looking at is one, hand hygiene, which Tobias is going to talk more about, and for us, it's the regular or daily blood sampling that we just had a look at and wanted to improve upon. How did we get there? Konstantin is also in the room, my business partner from Daisy Grip, and he's a doctor, and he used to take dozens and dozens of blood samples in his first years of practice, and then he was just like, something's wrong here. I'm using the Velcro type most of the time. Some hospitals have changed to single use, but it's just not very conform, and there's no real protocol that I can follow that makes me feel like I'm doing everything as I should. So we did look into studies a bit and found out that actually, since the 1990s, there's heaps of studies that came out that said something should be done about the current use of tourniquets because they do carry pathogens and therefore can just be carried from patient to patient to patient. And it's not really that there's this puncturing and it's close to that part of the arm, but it's more like then once they're here and you have the sensation on your arm, then maybe you touch there, go there, and or carry to a wound, and therefore, nosocomial infections can result. I'll go into both of those studies in a bit more detail, but most importantly, I think we just have to focus on what the outcome was. So on the first one, they just collected without actually letting anyone know before, so that's always the best way of how to start a study. You just collect all the tourniquets and then have them tested. And actually on all of the tourniquets that were collected, I think it was 77 in total, 50 of them were then tested, 27 of the others, they had blood stains on them. And then they tested them and put them on agar plates and kind of cultured the germ colonies and found out that, first of all of them grew skin flora, and then I think it was 30% of them who actually had pathogens on them that could be dangerous to any one of us, but even more so to people at risk in hospitals. Another very, very shocking fact about this one is that when they followed up this study with a questionnaire on how the tourniquets were used, only 28% of them actually said that they would be cleaning them or changing them between patients, which is quite a shocking number, to be frank. Then the second study, I think we're a bit more focused on the outcome or the recommendation here. It's the last line, I'm just going to read it out because it might be a bit far away for the ones in the back. Since it is impossible to disinfect reusable tourniquets, we recommend the use of disposable ones. And that's, I think, in 2000. But still, 18 years... Actually, yeah, exactly 18 years, because that's when we came up with a solution that lets you use reusable ones in a hygienic way, and you don't have to stick to the disposable ones that are obviously not as cost efficient as reusable ones. So let's just talk a bit about the competition that's out there, or about the other options. Let's call them other options. They either optimize cost or hygiene. And we thought something's wrong here. Why don't they optimize both? So we start on the left, the traditional tourniquet. I've brought one of those Velcro ones. You probably all know them. This one hasn't been in a hospital, so I can just pass it around. Maybe one or two won't know this one because you're all just working with the disposable ones, but probably you do. And if you just look at it, there's just a lot of spots where germs can attach, and they're just hard to clean. Like usually this one would have to go into an autoclave, and that's actually what the manufacturers say in their terms of use also, that either they should be thrown into like a wash with disinfectant detergent, or that they should be autoclaved after every use. So, but that never happens. Then, yeah, why are they being used? Because they're very, very user-friendly. Like it's easy. It's kind of like with a buckle on a backpack. Everybody knows how to use it. And also it is quite comfortable on the patient's skin because they don't know. And then they're also relatively cheap to buy because for the purchasing department, they buy it once, then it stays there for a year or two. So it seems like a good deal, even though all those costs of nosocomial infections stay unnoticed. Like nobody has them on their Excel spreadsheet. Then on the right side, the disposable tourniquets. I just brought one sample that's not on there. I think most of you guys probably use the rubber bands that you then need to like strap, or they have this ladder system. And the problem with these is, one, users don't like them. And in the healthcare system, since it's teamwork, like everybody has to play their part, and it has to be a user-friendly routine if you want to develop or establish something that actually works. Also, this one has not been in a hospital, so don't you worry. And with these ones, even though you can work very hygienically, it's quite expensive and also not very sustainable to work with these. So we thought, why not combine the best of both worlds? And that's how we developed the Daisy Grip. And it's the first hygienically reusable tourniquet. And it features the user-friendliness of the reusable ones. I would say even more than that, because now I'm holding a microphone and I can still just put it on, because it has a magnetic buckle and finds itself. And then you tighten it. If you want to open it, then you just like tilt it a bit upwards so the blood flow is restored, and then you slide it open to the side. And then you put the bottom part of the buckle down a bit. Take one of those. I'll have to put down the microphone. Alcoholic wipes or aldehyde wipes that you have in your hospital anyway for surfaces, and then you wipe it from top to bottom, and even inside and up here. Obviously, maybe a bit more than I just did. I'll just do it for the purpose of this talk. And then after half a minute, it just, since we have a very, very nice silicone material that all of you guys had on your seats this morning, so you could already feel the silicone. It's quite nice on your skin. Even if I had more hair on my arm, it wouldn't really be pinching or rubbing. And then half a minute later, you can use it on the next patient. It's actually almost dry already. And the germs are gotten rid of. And then a bit more about the bottom part later. We're also then working on, because everything is smart these days, and we're working on the digitization as well, which is a joint project that we're in together. I'll just give you a second to take a photo, but we're also happy to supply the material later on. So just to give you, like, what did we do once we came up with the solution? We were like, okay, before we test it in real life, let's actually find out if it does do what everybody thinks it would. We work closely together with the hygienist of the university in our hometown, Rostock. If you draw a line between Berlin and Copenhagen, pretty much in the middle, but not in the water, but right there. So on the left side, you see the traditional tourniquet. Once after use, you would expect that the germ count is quite high. And then on the right, you have the daisy grip, pretty much the same situation. Can't really tell much of a difference. And then after disinfection, where we just did it like this with an alcoholic disinfectant, you can see after the whole thing dried off again and you take a sample and put it on one of those agar plates again, you see that it actually works on a daisy grip, but it doesn't fully / it doesn't work on normal traditional tourniquet. So in vivo is always nice. In vitro is always nice, but then we need to follow this up with in vivo, and actually there we have a very good partner up in Hamburg, also north of Germany, that we're working with together with the University Clinic in Eppendorf, and there we just started to kind of have a more standardized procedure and start the tests. So first we have the inoculum and then put it on a primary surface and see that it dries, and then we swab it off and put it on a different test surface and do the same thing for the daisy grip also, because then you can see if the material of the daisy grip actually has antibacterial preconditions that we weren't aware of before, and can kind of make sure that it's the real cleaning process and not just the antibacterial surface of the silicon. So we could confirm that, and then after that we had to find a way how to compare, like, the green one, the traditional tourniquet, with the germ count on the daisy grip, because that's what it's actually going to be measured on in the test or in the study. So that's kind of the setup we have now. They get picked up in Stomacher bags, and then you put sterile solution on there, wash out the germs, and then take a little sample, and then you put that on a plate to cultivate it again. And we did find out that also here, the traditional tourniquet is comparable to the daisy grip, so this testing mechanism is actually good for doing what it should. And now in February, so yeah, at the beginning of this month, we started the test, or we went live, as you say in startup lingo, and expect results like towards the end of next month. But yeah, just so that you can see, we had two different germs that we kind of put on there in the lab to find out if they work the same way. And on the right side, you have the total count, and now we're doing it in the hospital setting. And I'm very interested about those results. Then maybe just a very short deep dive into the cost, because that's always, again, the end of the story is always someone who says no because of cost, even though it might be a better idea. Interestingly, maybe we don't, I think most of you guys probably don't use this anymore in the UK, right? The reusable one's not really status quo. So we'll just skip this one, because this one and this one is way better from a hygiene perspective anyway. And here I think you're probably at around 10 cents or 10 pence a piece. And if you just do the calculations, every time you use it, you've got cost of 10 to 20 cents or pence. And the handling for the user is not great. This adds up to just 2 times the amounts of uses or cost over the years. Comes up down here. And then if we do the same thing for the daisy grip, which I here calculated with the recommended retail price for hospitals, or if you buy in bulk, this one obviously is a bit lower. And then even included the cost per disinfection wipe to be fair and actually have a good comparison across the two. And then we did the whole thing is based on a calculation for one ward. with around 20 beds. But if you're interested, I can supply you all with all the background data after, excuse me, after the talk. Just some of the partners that we work with, mostly in Germany. Interesting, the university in Rostock, that's our hometown. That's where we did all the development with. And then I want to point out the Alexiana Hospital, which is in Berlin. Huge hospital. I think they just started to change their whole, like every single ward is now switching to the days group. And I think the last one will be finished in 2 weeks, that they all had like a little, schooling with the new ones and how they should go about it and why they're using them now, so that everybody actually in the whole clinic is on board, which is really nice, because changing it in one ward is good, but changing it across a whole hospital, I think that's when we're going to have the biggest impact. Yep. And then why are we here? First of all, because we think we've got a fun and good and hygienic product that we want to share with the world. And two, well, actually, that is kind of like sharing. We want to work together with you guys. So if you're interested in this solution and might have any ideas, feedback, places that we can trial, if you've got questions, please come. And we always just get smart of people like you from the field ask us questions, because one doctor in the team is not enough. Always happy to kind of improve on what we have. And now I'm already kind of segueing into the second part of the presentation, where we're going to hear lots about Nosocomial, which is a platform that helps you to monitor hand hygiene, and then also a bit about how we can play into that system later when we incorporate the daisy grip in smart, so that it can actually track data. How often has it been disinfected? Is it being used right? Where is it? Is someone taking it home? Stuff like that in the system as well. And that might look like this, where we have the normal product, the daisy grip, and then the system that Tobias is going to introduce, and then just include the system in the daisy grip. Thanks from my side for now, and I'm very happy to receive questions towards the end of our talk.
Perfect, Carl. Thanks a lot so far. So as Carl said, we are the company behind Nosocomial, and we are actually a technology company. So we have developed different sensors, different software, and we always ask ourselves what to do with that. So what are hygienic processes where we can implement our technology to provide you with data that really helps you in your daily routines? And one device is the daisy grip. But the focus at the moment of our product is the hand hygiene. And that is important for us because also according to existing data, the compliance is just 50% of hand hygiene. So just every second hand hygiene disinfection is actually done. So it's obvious that there's still some space for improvement. And when we look at your job, what you are doing, I think there are a lot of challenges, and please correct me if I'm wrong. What we have perceived is that it's pretty hard for you to argue towards different job groups. So there's a different perception also of the healthcare workers, what they think, how good they are, and how good they really are. But just talking to them, please do that carefully, doesn't work. That's our perception, because nobody really feels personal attached to that. And then if you do those trainings, the effectiveness is pretty low. So you do that training, and then for some days, maybe weeks, it helps, but then it's decreasing again. So the sustainability of your trainings, the measures you're doing, can be improved from our perspective. And of course, as I said, it's pretty hard to go to specific occupation job groups, persons, and provide them with the data related to their behavior. And that's our initial situation, where we want to come into the play and support you in your daily routine. And we believe that technology is necessary to do that. And the answer is Nosocomial, our hand hygiene monitoring system. How does it work? Pretty simple. So we take those existing dispensers here, like shown here, two different types. So we are independent from the type of dispenser. Then we use again our sensor technology, implement it there, and then we can track how often the different dispenser has been used. In addition to that, every healthcare worker, as you can see here as well, and I have one here at my clothes as well, there are more such badges on the table. You just put it to your clothes when you start your day as a healthcare worker. Then you follow the routine of your daily work. And then we can track all the time how often the different person has been used the hand dispenser. But we are not tracking single individual persons. We are tracking the job groups, occupations. So for example, nurses, physicians, doctors, therapists, whatever you would like to have and would help you to argue. But I'm going to the detail later on. And as I said, we are independent from the type of dispenser. So I'm not sure what's a famous one here in the UK. This one is the most famous in Germany. You can see that all over the floors. This one is from Ecolab. Might be that it's famous here in the UK. But as I said, we always find a way how to implement our sensor technology there. And I just would like to demonstrate how that is working. So maybe can you hold this one here? Now when I just push the dispenser here, as you can see, it counts the different numbers of activities. So we also combine it because we say normally one hand disinfection exists out of maybe 2, 3 pushes, and then we count all that. And it's not just counting the hand disinfections, it's also counting the dispensed amount. Because of course it makes a difference if we just push it once, or if you push it twice, 3 times, whatever. And we can count all the different dispensed amounts, and then you can also see what is the filling level of the dispenser to make sure that when it's empty, it's always refilled on time. That is also something we can monitor with our sensors. Okay? Again. That is the dispenser you normally find on the wall. But what we have seen, especially from Switzerland, where you're also active, and I would assume that you also have similar bottles here. So we call that point-of-care dispensers, where you just have the kind of bracket here, put it to the bed somewhere, just to decrease away between the patient and the disinfectant. And then, of course, we couldn't say, okay, we just take a sensor, put it to every bottle, and then it's thrown away together with the bottle. That wouldn't work. So, and what we did is that we just developed a new kind of sensor. So you can find just a bracket here, and then you can see again our sensor here, and then the bottle comes on top of that sensor, and then we can just measure the pressure all the time you're pushing the pump of the bottle. So that is a different kind of technology, of course, but we just want to make sure that we can collect as many helpful data as possible. So that is from the perspective of the sensors related to the dispensers. And how does it work? I don't want to go into the detail, but actually just to show you also how we can visualize the data. I will show it in the software later on. But actually we take your floor plan, digitize that also in our software, and when we're walking down all the floors, we also say, okay, here are dispensers, so we make the position on the map, and then when we have all the dispensers on that map, of course we can show data to every dispenser. So we can say, for example, which one are used often, which one are used not that often, what are the filling levels, as you can see here, all the red bubbles, they are almost empty, and then you have to, of course, refill or change the bottle. And that really helps to make also processes more efficient. And that is just one kind of visualization in our software. And then, of course, you have the transponders that are just added to the clothes. And that is working when you start your routine as a healthcare worker. You just go to a central point of the hospital ward. There's a box where you can imagine there are 20 different badges of the same color. And let's say I'm a therapist now. Then I go to that place, just pick up my badge, add it to my clothes, and then I just follow my routine during the day. And in the end of the day, I just put it away, and the next day I'm just taking another one. So there's also a random principle to avoid that we can track individual persons. I'm not sure how it's important, the data protection, privacy stuff in the UK, but in Germany, it's not that easy to convince the hospital when you would track individual person. And that's our answer, that we just monitor job groups or the different occupations. So just to give you some insights, first insights, how we collect the data. In the end, as I already said, we collect two different kinds of data. So first of all, we can say the number of disinfections, so how often you have used the dispenser. We can also then benchmark different hospital wards, of course. And we also know something about the dispensed amount and the amount that's still available in every dispenser. And now I would like to give you a few insights also into our software, just that you can see it's user-friendly, because you have to work with that. We would like to provide you with the data that you can look into the software and then go to the different wards or also job groups. So 1 second. As you can see here, this is the dashboard. That's the first page when you log into the software. And here you can see two different wards, the ICU and the surgery unit. And then we have just one day selected here. And then you can see on that day those disinfection numbers. That was the average activities per disinfection, how many amount dispensed in total, how many dispensers are below 20% filling level. So all that data you can see here. And then you can do some benchmarks. So for example, here you have again the different job groups. You can see, okay, those 722 disinfections are related to those job groups here. And also, how is it about the different units that are equipped with the system? You can compare here as well. And then, as I said, it's intuitive. You can also change the time frame when you click on the week. Then it starts from Monday to today. When you select the month, then it starts from the first of the month until today. And that is, so to speak, intuitive. And you can also do some more benchmarks here. So for example, if I now select the KPI, average dispensed amount per disinfection, that's important according to the World Health Organization also, that you have at least 3 milliliters in your hand. And here you could see now that on the surgical unit, it's fine. That's no problem. It's 5 milliliter. I mean, it's just example data. But now when you can take a look here at the ICU, they are taking not enough disinfectant on average per hand disinfection. And that could be a point where you can say, okay, I have to go there. I have to do a training how a correct hand disinfection should be practiced. And that is how we would like to provide you with data to make more precise also trainings to the different job groups or also the different units. So that is the first page, and I just would like to go to two more details. So as you can see here again, that is the floor plan. And as I said, we also show the different dispensers here. So all the blue bubbles here are the dispensers, and when I now go to that, you can see, okay, how often they have used. You can also choose one, and then you can see, okay, what kind of dispenser is installed here, what kind of disinfectant is inside, how much it has been used by the different job groups again. So you can go from the more abstract level to a concrete level. And what you can also see is which dispensers has been used often or maybe not that often. And here you can see the red ones are used not that often, and maybe you can say, okay, do we really need them? Or should we place them in a different position? Because, they are not used that often. And you can also do some fancy stuff like showing the room types, because it's also related to the number of disinfections. Because maybe if you just have a storeroom, maybe it's not that important that the hand disinfection is practiced there. So just an example. And of course, it's also interesting to see the development during the time. So here you can see the different months, and that is a point where we would like to interact also with you. Now we would like to ask, what happened here? Why in January and February the disinfection numbers were so low? What was the reason? And maybe why in March they increased? What was the reason for that? What have you done? What are some measures? So we also would like to provide you with feedback. What kind of measures helps in terms of increasing hand disinfection or decreasing? Yeah, to make it more measurable also what you are doing. So just some examples how the software looks like. As I said, it should be user-friendly. So for example, you can also click on that button and then you can see again what is the definition of that KPI we have shown here. So it should be intuitive to use it. So just as an example, and now I would like to go back. And so we have customers mainly in Germany, but also abroad. I will come to that later on. And at that customers, we already tracked 4 million hand disinfections. But of course, it's not just about the numbers, also about the impact. And here you can see Frank. Frank is an infection control officer at one of our pilot clients in Germany. And before we have started our project, he had 2 major problems. So first of all, in the entrance of the hospitals, the dispenser has been always empty. And patients and guests were complaining, okay, it's nice to have a dispenser in the entrance, but when it's always empty, it's not really helpful. And the second problem he had that at one ICU, the disinfectant use was below the average. And he said, okay, please do it carefully, but it didn't work out. So then we installed our system, and in the first 3 months, we could increase the disinfectant use by 35%. And now he's happy again, and of course, the numbers are above the average. And we have more customers also. And it's also important, of course, okay, increase in disinfectant use, but what does it mean, for example, in terms of hospital-acquired infections? And there is actually some evidence that if you improve the compliance in hand hygiene, you can decrease hospital-acquired infection rates by as much as 40%, as written here. So, and that's what we, of course, would like to provide you, a tool where you can increase the awareness for hand hygiene and then, as a consequence, decrease hospital-acquired infections. And we are not alone. We are an independent company, but we also have strong partners, like maybe you know B. Brown. So they just launched a new dispenser, and that's what I've shown here. That's a new dispenser from them. And they also try to find ways how to increase it. So as you can see, here's a sticker on that. Push me and then just rub me until I get my satisfaction. So they try to do it on a funny way. And as you can see here, there's some more stickers that you just can put on the dispenser to get just the attention of also healthcare workers. Just to show you how we also would like to cooperate. And as you can see here again, that's the dispenser, and our sensor is inside or the back side of this dispenser. But we are still an own company, just that we have also strong partners where we can provide our services together also here in the UK. I mean, that might be a question also, you're Germany, but how can you go to the UK, for example, together with them, just as an example. And as I said in my first words, we are technology companies, and we always, of course, try to figure out, are there any other processes where we could use our sensors? And here are 3 more examples of use cases that infection control officers from big university hospitals in Germany, they came to us and asked, well, can we also use your sensors to track even more? And just this example is explained briefly. So this one here is an incubator for the prematured babies on a neonatology. And he would like to track when the doors are opened is also the hand disinfection before the opening practice, because especially on this unit, the hand disinfection is really important, because that is the main, if it's not done, that's the main transmission path for the germs. Because the babies, they can't walk around or go to another baby. It can be just related to the healthcare workers. When they are not doing the hand disinfection, that's the problem, and they transmit the germs to the other babies. So, and of course, we, again, use our sensor here, bring it to the doors, and then we can also track this kind of device. Then another example from also an infection control officer, he said that there is a correlation between the volume So if it's noisy during a surgery, then the risk of surgical site infections is increasing, because maybe the doctors are talking about the last holidays, whatever, then they're not so focused, and the time between, or the time of the surgery is increasing, and then it has an impact of the risk for surgical site infections. So we're also thinking about how we can track such volume. Yeah, that is one aspect related to the surgery. And another one is that he said, I have a problem that the door of the surgery room is always open. There's one people running, there's some things are missing, they have to pick it up, and if the door is open, it's pretty hard to keep the air conditioned, because that's also important from the hygiene perspective. And that's something where we can use our sensor again, put it to the door and track if it's open, how long it's open, and maybe it should be closed again. So we are based in Germany, as we said. We now have more than 20 installations, mainly in Germany, but also in Austria, Switzerland, Slovakia, Spain. What's still missing, of course, is the UK, and that's one of the reasons why we are here. And of course, we are looking for lighthouse projects as well. So if you want to be a pioneer with us together, so looking forward, just to have a discussion. And what we also say is infection prevention is team play, and we would like to be your team player to improve the hygiene situation in hospitals.